agenda meeting of Chippewa Township together. Dispense with formalities unless anyone has any objections. Seeing none, and also visitors' comments. If there's any visitors' comments, present at this time. Seeing none, we can move right into the first item. Chippewa Trails amendments 8, 9, 10.
The Chippewa Trails amendments 8, 9, and 10. I just lumped them in here. They're 8s of duplex. They're all duplex subdivisions. I provided you with the plan, the comments. Planning Commission meeting's not until next week since this month started on a Wednesday. So I just wanted to kind of give them to you in preparation for approval for next week.
So it would be their meeting
next Tuesday.
next Tuesday. Okay.
Yep.
Okay, second one is a request for the road department for a truck.
Yeah. You can see that provided you with a quote from Hunter's Trucks and Stevenson Equipment. We got a couple of quotes for the bed, hydraulics, everything from Stevenson. We got one from U.S. Municipal. And speaking with Road Foreman Chapey, we would be up for a truck for next year as far as the schedule, but what they're telling us now is if we order this truck now, we would be lucky to get it next year.
Yeah.
So if we wait till next year, who knows when we will get the truck.
Yeah.
So, and Eric, you can add anything to this as we go along here. I'm just passing this information along from our conversations with them. So, presented you with a truck and then the dump body, the hydraulic package, and the snow plow and hitch and spreader. So, if you guys want to look that over next week, whatever, we're just going to need. If you guys want to move forward and have to let them know, he said if we tell them today, we're looking at 2024 maybe.
And the prices will probably fluctuate a little up.
Want to do it today?
Yeah, I'm fine. I'll make a motion to order the new street department truck.
It's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion?
This would be a replacement, or
It's actually replacing a truck that size that we had to get rid of, a year and a half ago.
okay, that's what that. Okay. Yep.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried. Okay, quote to repair the drains at the fire station.
Yeah, talking to some of the firemen again, they've brought this up to us in the past that their drains inside their building have not worked. They've had numerous times they had Ray Evans over, had different people over they've tried to do it themselves with their fire hose, unclog the drains. Can't figure out what's going on with them. I mean, they're small, little round drains. They're not suitable for a building like that. Probably clogged up somewhere, can't figure out where. So I had Chance Frederick just go over. I spoke with the fire department. They utilize him for some other things. He contributes a lot to the fire department, helps out a lot, so I had him give us a quote. I told him that I wanted something that we could clean out, something that we wouldn't have this problem again in the future. It's the same thing that we did when we put on the add-on down at the street department. We put in basically a catch basin, a shallow catch basin, 2x2x2 catch basin with the actual grate that you would see on top of a catch basin. I believe it had quoted in here 4 new ones for each bay. So each bay, 6-inch pipe tied out. We're trying to go through the exact hole and then tie it into. There's a catch basin right along Darlington Road, where we would just tie it in direct. That way, when they clean their trucks, do any work in there, they got it right now. They got to take the water and put it out into the parking lot if they do anything in there. So that's a quote. I didn't know if you guys need any more information. It doesn't have to be voted on today. It could be voted on next week or if you wanted me to get other quotes, I'd be glad to do that. Looks like a pretty fair number for the work that they're doing.
That's like what, 11?
11, almost 12,000, but I mean, there's a lot of work there.
Yeah,
They got to
yeah.
saw cut that floor,
Oh, yeah.
Would we have to put that out to bid for that? Okay.
not at that person, no.
I'll make a motion to
Second.
repair the drains.
Move to second, any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
We'll get the drains, that's good. Garbage exemption request,
Yeah, I provided you with a letter from a resident on Fairview Street. I guess his ownership in Donahue Railroad Incorporated in Darlington, I know where it's at. Right on the bend going out of Darlington towards like Ian Valley. He's requesting, trash exemption because he has a business with a dumpster, and I know in the past, that's been past practice. Not that we have to continue with past practice, but, he asked me, and I said, this is the process to go through.
The question I would have would be, is this, because we have probably, what, 30, 40 people who do this maybe?
Yeah.
Between 30 and 40.
Is this amount of work, actually processing these, sending them out a letter and checking, is the amount of work that your city are doing, is that too much? Is it?
No. I don't think. It's just, what we do now is once you were on that list, you were on that list. Now, we send out letters every year and we make them re-register every year because we had businesses that we would go back and look. And I would find that they never asked to be off.
right.
Give you an example, Mr. Crivelli Chevrolet on Anchortown Road. She hands me the list, look through it, I'm like, he sold his house. They never tell you when they went off.
Mhm.
It'd be put back on, they just want when they're off. So we do that now, we send it out every year, which, 30 and, 38 sending out, they usually fill them back in, send them back in, nothing's changed, things of that nature. So, no, it's not
Okay.
overly cumbersome. I'll tell you this, it's hard for me to, if it were like something in Chippewa, I would know if you had a business and if you were owner of a business.
Yeah.
I could say, if I lived in Brighton Township and they had this policy, or if I lived here, I'd say, hey, I own my own business. I don't know that. I'm not gonna go do the research and see if you're a part owner or if you just work there. Regardless, that's what we've done in the past for years, way before me. So.
We don't, that's not an ordinance or something like that we have?
No.
So
That's
we have
just
no.
that was just been a past practice. I can't even say it's a policy.
Yeah, okay. My only thing would be is if you lose that ability, again, if we don't have it written down, but if Don writes you a citation for garbage,
Yes.
whatever, like you lose that,
Correct.
that would be my
Yeah.
only recommendation, but if you guys don't mind doing the work to do it, that's fine, I would say, by me.
Okay.
Yeah, as long as they own the business, of course, they
Yeah.
might not know for sure. Yeah, we're keeping tabs. It's great we're doing that once a year now, so.
Yeah, and it just helps us keep track of it.
All right.
Next item is, and you can do that next week too, that's fine. Refuse and recycling contract. I'd just like for you guys, one way or the other, next week, authorize Shannon to either prepare the bid documents and then, we continue with the service that we have. What I would like for you guys to do though, if you do make the decision to go out to bid, I can even resend those contracts again, kind of go through and give me your input on if you'd like to see any changes. I already know that there's a couple that I would like to make a change on. And I think I'd have to sit down with Shannon and maybe have a meeting, or we can put our notes together and then meet with her
Yeah.
before we go out to bid, because there's some things that I would like to, like I mentioned, is there something we can do to have the price included of the trash bins, things of that nature, that we can, hone somebody in on a price and not just the price of garbage when we have so many residents using those receptacles. So,
All right. The Wi-Fi cameras at Veterans and Chippewa Park.
yeah, I know that during our tour, and we've discussed this, and I know Dan has brought up to me, and that's something I've been wanting to do. I reached out to Bob at MVSoft, and he feels that this is something we can accomplish very simple. They've just recently accomplished this in another area, where as long as we have the internet service, they put on a module outside of the building, and they do a blast out through the park. So I'm going to wait and get a price from him. So hopefully, I just spoke to him again this morning. We're going to try to do it this week, if not next week. Go around to at least Chippewa Park and Veterans Park for now, where we have internet service. And he feels that this is something that we could do and relatively inexpensive. So just let you know, we're making a little bit of movement on that. As far as the cameras, I reached out again this morning to John Hudson, who does our cameras at our intersections. Right now, we have 3 camera companies that we work with, and I'm trying to get it all consolidated into one camera company. I've dealt with all 3. I know which one I want to work with. We have, basically, I can't remember the name of the company now, but it was Broback. It was
Monotronics.
Yeah, it's Monotronics now. We have them in the parks. We have also another Jason Miller who does the other part of the turf field, and then we have John Hudson. The only cameras that we actually have under lease are here in this building. And when we upgraded them, I leased them instead of purchased them. I thought that would be a better route for us, but it doesn't seem to be working that way. We're out of our lease next July, so I feel that we just need to start upgrading our systems. I'd like to put a license plate reader actually in both parks when you're coming into the park. That will also help our police. They would be notified if we had somebody in our park that shouldn't be there, shouldn't be around kids, things of that nature. I feel that that's a safety thing that we could have. I mean, I think it's something that I would like to upgrade both parks for now and get that camera upgraded, and then upgrade the system and be under one roof.
In those cameras, the police department would have access to them,
They
correct?
would be streamed directly to them.
Okay.
Good, all right. Update of our GIS system?
Yeah, kind of like sparked this over the software program that we received from, that we purchased, I should say, from, for, I think it's iWorks. It's through, Donna utilizes it, and also Eileen. A lot of our GIS system, we have to update that when we do subdivisions. Different parcel numbers, Chippewa Trails comes in. I found out that that's a pretty simple process through the county. It's going to cost us like $100 a year to update that mapping. So that's simple, but the problem is our GIS system, when you go on our website, a lot of that is outdated. And we had a company, Hanover Engineering, and they were out of Portersville. At one point, they had a Portersville office, and we utilized them to design the system and put it up. And we have the sanitary sewer, we have the sanitary sewer lines, and I'm trying to continue to build once the water authority continues upgrading their system. But Hanover, they're all out east now. They shut their office down, and a lot of the employees that worked on our GIS system, they either moved out east or they went to other companies. A lot of them went to other companies. So we don't have anybody to do any maintenance on it unless I reach out to them, and it's been a little bit of a struggle. Our mapping has gotten worse. If you zoom in, it'll go, it's like it's wintertime. It's like a weird overlay map, and their contract's over with us. It's just a maintenance thing, and they just don't really feel like doing anything with it. So I reached out to actually Craig Baker. He's with Larson Design Group, right down in Rochester there, and Beaver. And they actually set something up with the COG to do a COG-wide GIS. So I'm going to try to get teamed up with them and also look at our actual system. So I'm meeting with them next week and asking them for a proposal on maintenance of our system and upgrading it and getting it back in. I mean, I hate to have information online when you're trying to tell people to go online and look at something and it's outdated.
Yeah.
You're just asking somebody not to look. So I'll get a quote on that, and I'll have that hopefully prepared for you next week.
And just because it's a public meeting, how often do you think you use the GIS here?
I use it all the time.
Yeah, so.
I use it constantly. I talked to Chief Herman. He utilizes it. If they're going to go do a search or something, they'll do that. And I'd rather, I mean, I know the county has the system, but I'm trying to build our system instead of, like, when we have the sewer points, we have the invert elevations. The county's not going to provide that information. And as the water authority, they started doing their waypoints and everything, they're going to provide us with that information, so we'll be able to put that on our system. And anyway, yeah, we utilize it a lot. And I have community members that actually tell me they do.
Yeah.
I direct as many people as I can there. I mean, we have it down to 10-foot intervals of elevation.
Wow. Yeah.
So for someone who's doing a development,
Yep.
they can actually look at 10-foot intervals of elevation, which they pay surveyors tons of money for that.
Yeah.
So I know a lot of surveyors utilize it too.
Good.
All right. Anything else?
That's all I have.
Okay. That puts us into department reports. Police?
Again, I submitted the monthly supervisor report with the summary, any clarifications needed. The only thing I forgot to mention, Mark, is it permissible to get with the solicitor and possibly write a ordinance for disruptive behavior? We're doing really well with the marijuana ordinance, but I think that would save us a lot more grief with the disorderly conduct under the state statute. Plus the time.
You said disorderly conduct, and there's something else maybe you wanted to add to that?
I was going to ask if you want for something like disruptive behavior, unreasonable noise or something like that in the ordinance. It'd be a little easier than going through the state statute. Plus the township would get the fines for being the victim.
I'd make a motion that you could ask our solicitor to go forward and draft an ordinance for us to look at.
Second move, seconded, discussion, all in favor?
Thank you.
All right, very good. All right, Eric, Street Department?
Other than my report, I'm good.
Okay. Recreation?
Sure, I gave you my reports. Just to recap the tournaments, everything went really well. We were busy, almost 2 weekends in a row. You can see we brought in for gate fees, for parking fees, which was just a bonus this year. It was over $12,000, so that's awesome. And then our costs, what we invoiced the customers was $26,000 just for those 2 weekends. So that's huge for us. That's a big up in what we've normally done. So a lot of work. We had some great high school kids helping us out for the weekend. So they're all on board to work again too, which is always fun. So yeah, any questions about the tournaments? It was packed. You drove past.
No, yeah, it was.
Insanely packed.
Yeah, it was ridiculous. I don't know how everybody fit.
Yeah.
I drove past, to be honest with you, but no, it was great.
We figured it out.
Squeeze them in where we could.
Nice. Now that people having the tournaments, say worked out well for them.
Yes, everybody was very pleased. You know, some people had complaints about scheduling, but that wasn't us. That was the tournament directors. So facility-wise, everybody was very pleased.
Awesome.
So hopefully they already want to book for next year, so it looks like we should bring them back. And then, you know, my hope is we get some regular rentals out of it from different organizations that enjoy the facilities as well. So
Cool.
it was good. All of our regular rentals are wrapping up for spring, and then I did provide you with some of our, as we did our walkthrough last week, I had emailed you guys the notes, but I provided you with, we got some quotes on some things for possible splash pad park playground enhancement stuff, so for you guys to look at. I think, Mark, once you guys review and take a look, Mark and I can kind of chat with you guys about what direction we want to go, if we want to put a vote to it next week, or I don't really know, Mark, if you want to chime in on.
No, I think process-wise, I mean, we just wanted to give you guys an idea. You know, we have a possible donor. I have some other things that I need to look at. I'm trying to get some figures from the sanitary authority on flow-throughs for the water utilities, water flow, how much those ongoing costs are going to take, come into effect. This company that we met with, they're very professional. They've done a lot of facilities around here. I think that their price point is right in line, if not better than I expected. Actually, better than I expected.
Was that in
Much
that?
better than-
Did you email that to us with the price stuff on it? Or?
So the emails include the first, right before the samples is the email that shows sample A, B, and C in their order for their prices.
Okay, all right.
So you
Yeah,
can
so you can
see.
get like an A, B, and C.
Okay.
I asked them for examples around that price range. We're also trying to get costs for a changing room. So it'd be restrooms. They make the portable ones pretty much where you bring them in, set them up, tie them in, so that way we would have, even if it was a family, one family changing room with a restroom. I mean, these facilities they've done a lot of research and, I've been to a ton of them, but I've looked at a lot of them. They have where you're hitting the button to turn the fixtures on when you're in that area. So you're not just running water nonstop. And then they'll automatically shut off at like a 4-minute interval. We can set those intervals. So,
We can schedule times that they can operate, so if they went around the hours of like noon to 7, then they can only press the buttons between noon and 7 and get them working. So we can kind of schedule out and figure out what'll work best, for our facility.
I mean, we would be looking at, he's telling me that if I give him price per 1,000, he can tell me what each one of these will produce typically. So at least those are some figures that we don't have. You can see in that, I think the cost didn't include the excavation, which wouldn't be an issue, and any utility movement, which if it was decided to be back here, we would have to grinder because I looked at our GIS and they don't have any sewer lines that run back at all. It runs along Darlington Road and then it runs back and through here. So I'm gonna have to take a lot of that into account too. So when we give you guys a number or give the possible donor a number, we're gonna try to get it as accurate as possible. So it's gonna take a little bit of time. We're trying to get the stuff put together so we can meet with the donor. But in the meantime, we want to keep you guys educated on this. And at one point, after we meet with that person to see what that is on their end, and then present it to you. But I guess what I'm trying to say is, if at any point you don't want us to move forward with this, I don't want to waste somebody else's time as a donation, and I don't want to keep putting in all these man hours to come up with these numbers.
The Pashik quote too, just so you guys know, is we had talked about using a design service to help us figure out the best layout back there if we're going to enhance playgrounds and stuff like that. So this is their quote just for a design service. So as you're reviewing things, you can take a look at that, see if we want to go that route, if we want to piecemeal stuff, if we want to just add a splash pad. So these are all things that we can kind of discuss as we're moving forward, but we wanted to investigate, provide you with the information, so.
All right.
Yeah, no problem. I just have a few other things. You can see our list of events coming up. We have summer camp starting next week, and our Not Home program starts next week. So, we're busy gearing up. And then we do have Community Day before we meet again in July. So I just wanted to make sure you guys know they're aware of that July 9th over at Wright Fields. We have our Community Day program. So I also had another different donor approach me about naming the baseball complex for 99 years. So I'll be putting together a proposal for you guys to vote on and approve what that package would look like, and if we wanted to move forward with that. So I will hopefully have that for you before next week, but I wanted to make you aware.
Which baseball complex?
Veterans Park Baseball.
Naming what is it, naming the field or the whole?
The whole area.
Okay. That's fine.
Okay. All right. Thank you much. Code enforcement?
I just wanted to bring up one thing. The grass complaints are starting to come in, so we do have one problem property at the corner of, it's vacant, at the corner of Park and Fineview, I believe it is. I believe the address is 221 Park. It's a vacant house. The owner lives in California. This is a long history of an open foul with this individual. This kind of goes on and back and forth, and the challenge is because she's in California, if she chooses to ignore the notices and we move to a citation phase, if she doesn't pay and we end up at the magistrate, it's going to be very difficult to get somebody to come from California to attend court. So again, even if a fine is imposed for her not showing up, again, it's difficult to collect that or do any legal steps if the person is across the country. So I know one of the neighbors did talk to Mark. Another neighbor mentioned she may talk to Dan. She has some relationship with Dan, so I don't know if that's happened. And anyhow, just to let you know that what the next step for me would be coming out of the code office, if there's no way that I can get her into court, and we've done this in the past a handful of times, Mark and I do not like to do this because I think it trains people to not listen. But you get into a cut and lien situation where you hire someone to go out and cut, and then you put a lien on the house, on the property, and then you have to wait until, and then if they don't sell the property, then you're just kind of sitting on a lien. Plus, I'm against that unless people are really causing a fit, because I believe it trains a property owner to just ignore the previous citations. Oh, I don't have to listen because if I just hold out, I can't be served for court, then the township's going to take care of it for me. And lots of communities do use that, cut and lien a lot. I personally and professionally, I don't like to use it. And we have in the past sparingly with some properties. But it's just, it's an expense to the township. And like I said, you're using tax dollars to basically clean up after somebody that should be doing it themselves. So I'm opposed to it. But this is just my opinion, and it might go a different way because I did issue citations, and those citations will be up this week. And my intent is to do the whole court process anyhow, try to get her into court. I don't think that that's going to be successful, but I'm going to move forward with it anyhow. Hopefully that'll start her work into something. Just kind of giving you a heads up that when it gets to that, and if it gets to that cut and lean, then my next step is to have a conversation with Mark, because I don't just authorize going out and spending money to do something. So the next step would be an additional conversation with Mark. But I'm just bringing it to your attention because if they're talking to Mark, they're talking to Dan, chances are you might run into somebody when you're out and about town, and they're going to bring it up. And I just want you guys to be aware of what the history has been up to this point. But this woman is.
If you go through and do all that and get the lien, once you perfect the lien, you can force a sale. So if it's a vacant home that's it's being, I say do it, perfect the lien, and force the sale for someone else to buy it.
That would definitely be a Shannon move. So if you get to that point, there might be different
If it's
options.
someone who's not living there and it's always a constant problem, then not force it to be sold to someone else, it's not a problem.
The
Because
problem,
here's what the problem is with the process, Brian, and I'm not gonna get into it, because this is one of my soapbox areas, because this is a process that we can't control. It's over there with the magistrate, is that when they send a court notice, if that person refuses that certified mail, then the next step is that person needs to be served. So let's say it's you, Brian, that needs to be served. If they can't, the constable can't do it, they can't, the mail's refused, whatever, a lot of times they'll have me do it. As I'm driving around, I'll just watch and catch the person. I've done that a bunch of times, help them serve. But if you have somebody who's smart enough and knows that system and knows all they have to do is refuse that, and then you're in California, I mean, a person's gonna know that it can only go so far. So it frustrates me, because that's a system. I can't, I
Sure.
can't go to Mark and say this system isn't working, and then we can look at a way to change it.
Ultimately, the direction that I gave Donna was to go ahead and proceed with finding this individual, and as fast as possible. I'd rather send the fine. If they're willing to pay the fine, I'll take the fine money and cut the grass.
yeah.
Instead of putting a lien on it. Yeah, I mean, I know our municipal liens, and I'm not aware, Brian, that we're capable of doing that. forcing a sale, but if we are,
You can, it takes, Dawn's right, the service ends up becoming the issue, because when it comes to personal property, you really have to have it airtight, and if you don't, let's say this person would die, pass away, whatever, you're dealing with an estate, it's, service with an estate, is the sheriff in California going to serve a notice to this person, or the estate for it, so it ends up getting really, but, in the end, somebody's not gonna do it. I like liens to be there anyway, because.
But we have to, I would
Yeah.
definitely lean it, there's no
Yeah.
doubt about it.
Yeah.
Our municipal liens are, I believe, are only good for so many years. So we have to continue to lien.
Yeah, you do.
I think it's like 7 years,
Yeah.
is a max on lien, so if I'm this person, I say, hey, go ahead and cut my grass, lien it, do what you gotta do. I'm gonna make that money back in 7 years anyway, I don't care how that. I feel bad for the neighbors that have to deal with it.
Yeah.
I understand it is a problem, but I don't want it to become a worse problem, and it's something ongoing. That's why I want to move to the fine process. If she refuses to pay the fines, then the court system's going to get after her, not us. So that's, it is a tough process, and I've explained this to, the individuals who call here, and I know they listen, they hear me, but they don't want to hear it. They understand, but they don't want to hear it. They've all been very. The person who called me was very understanding, but listen, there's a process here.
Yep.
I didn't design the process.
Yep.
If I did, this would be over already, but, for
I'm
sure.
just saying, closing, Brian, in some other communities that I'm in, I had a situation like this where I found the owner was in Ohio. I actually drove to Ohio and sat in front of his house and waited. I mean, if it's close enough, I can do something like that. But it's the distance. It's the distance, and it's just, I'm sure you can tell, it's very frustrating to me because, and like I said, I just think you train them when you cut and lean. You just train them to ignore what they're supposed to do. So I'm always opposed to it unless, like Mark said, if the neighbors if you got them all in an uproar, and you want to do something because they're the taxpayers, so you want to address it. But if people are pretty quiet about it, we'll just sit on it and try other angles. But anyhow, I didn't mean to take up so much time. Again, I just wanted you to be aware, because I'm sure if you're out at Walmart and one of those neighbors are there, they're going to come up to you and say something, and then at least you have some background. You're not shocked, like you don't know what the issue is. So that's the big thing for me.
And those cuts aren't cheap.
No.
By the time it gets to that point, these are like $250.
At least. That's
Which I don't blame on.
Yeah.
Yes,
Alright.
it can be
Okay.
expensive. It can be expensive.
Okay.
So
Appreciate
that's all that I have.
All right. Sanitary authority, did we get anything? No. Okey-doke. Finance?
Okay, what we're doing, I sent a vendors list to Huntington Bank yesterday, I've got it completed. What they're using this for is to process, to see what can be paid on the credit card and what has to be paid by check. And from what they sent me, well, I'll hopefully know something by the end of this week. But it's getting there, it's taking time, but it's getting there.
Okay, good.
Because you figure, I asked them about the vendors list, and they didn't, then they came back and said, we need a vendors list from last year on how much you spent. So I ran that, and I sent that to him, and he says, that's too big. I went, yeah, it's 90 pages long. And what I had to do was go in and eliminate, like you guys, all the insurance companies, the banks, everything that would not take a credit card. And I got it completed yesterday, and I sent it out to them, so that's where we're at right now with dealing with Huntington.
All right.
Okay. Thank you. Anything else for the good of the order?
Nope, sir.
Seeing none? We're adjourned.
We're gonna do a group shot real quick, David.
What do you want to do with that?
David, you're gonna want to speak to that?
I was thinking, just right over here,